Hi everyone, Spiderman 1991 here, talk about my comics for the week. It's Wednesday, June 29th, although I'm probably going to upload this tomorrow on Thursday, June 30th, so that's when you'll be seeing it. Okay, first off, FF number 5. Now then, an alternate versions of Reed Richards has teamed up with the Mole Man to destroy the city of Old Atlantis. And once that and even though Alex Power kind of does his best to sort of stop the Mole Man's forces from entering, he's unable to stop them because during the time the alternate Reed shot Sue and Spider-Man went to a rescue. Sue's fine, by the way. And unfortunately, though, Old Atlantis is destroyed. Wait, let me see if I can find it. Yep, Old Atlantis is destroyed, and then Sue says that they need to head back to the Baxter building and get some answers from Reed. Next up, we just have a 2-page shot here of Ben Grimm talking to his girlfriend Elisa Masters about how things are different now with everything in the FF and since Johnny's death in the recent days in the Future Foundation stuff. But back to the Baxter building. After Reed fixes Alex's arm, Sue confronts him about the alternate Reeds, and she starts to figure out why there's a ton of supervillains in their house. And she then asks Reed what's going on, basically what's going on. And then Reed starts to tell her everything. And now our final scene is at the city of the High Evolution, created by the High Evolutionary. And the alternate Reeds have made a deal with this city that they'll pretty much repair the High Evolutionary's machine that will allow them to procreate in exchange for them for no longer taking in citizens of the Mole Man who've escaped his kingdom. And once they get that agreement out of the way, Adelan has returned. The Inhuman Kingdom of Adelan has returned along with King Blackbolt, and he does not look happy. FF number 5. Yeah, this is pretty much everything that Jonathan Hickman was setting up during the final issues of Fantastic Four with the city of the Inhumans and the Old Atlantis and the other city of the High Evolutionary. All those cities that he was setting up in Fantastic Four. It seems like they're pretty much what he created them for is starting to show the purpose of in FF right now. Right now, this issue isn't really jump on friendly. If you can, though, I'm pretty sure there's some the collected editions of Jonathan Hickman's final issues of Fantastic Four are out by now. I would recommend reading those before reading any issues of FF, just to kind of give you an idea about when the Fantastic Four found these cities and what was going on with them. Moving right along, Amazing Spider-Man 664. Continuing last issue, Anti-Venom has Spider-Man tied up in his lair so that he can get proof that the charitable good citizen Martin Lee is actually the crime boss, Mr. Negative. So Anti-Venom pretty much just leaves Spidey wrapped up while he goes off to find proof. And speaking of other costume superheroes, the Wraith, who is supposedly the ghost of former police officer Jean DeWolf, who's also a close friend to Spider-Man, is apparently chasing down other former criminals to get information about Mr. Negative. And during this little adventure, though, Carly Cooper, Peter Parker's girlfriend and forensics police officer, has pretty much scanned Wraith and has figured out that she's emitting body heat, which is not possible for a ghost. And of course, while this is going down, Martin Lee has donated a ton of statues to the Metropolitan Museum that are stashed with drugs for Mr. Negative's group. And of course, right when Spider-Man breaks free of Anti-Venom's bonds, he gets hit again by Anti-Venom's webbing, and Anti-Venom decides to take him to the museum so that he can see the proof that Martin Lee is Mr. Negative. And when they get there, though, Anti-Venom starts looking around, but he gets stabbed in the back by a sword. And Wraith shows up to free Spider-Man. And, of course, Spider-Man realizes that, okay, you are not a ghost lady. Plus, I recognize Mysterio's old tech. Whatever, and Spidey says, whatever, you're a good guy, so you want me to help take these guys out? And Wraith agrees. So, Anti-Venom, Wraith, and Spider-Man are pretty much winning the fight against Mr. Negative. And while this is going on, Spidey manages to move a painting, which sets off an alarm. And Mr. Negative shoots this formula toxin he has called the Devil's Breath, which is poison to a certain set of DNA, which is derivative from a blood sample, which he got a case from Spider-Man's blood. But a few months ago, Spidey had the Black Cat switch out his blood with a vial of pig's blood from Mr. Negative's safe. So this Devil's Breath has no effect on Spidey. Kaboom! Punch. Wraith is able to scan Mr. Negative's face and pretty much use the scanners to show a complete facial recognition match between Mr. Negative and Martin Lee, and that information is sent all across the city. But unfortunately, Mr. Negative escapes. Spider-Man tells Wraith to get out of there before the cops show up, and he tells the same thing for Anti-Venom. And Spidey can pretty much stay there because, I mean, he has Avengers clearance. So he tells the cops about the heroin and the statues. Then he goes and spies on Carly and Captain Watanabe. And apparently Carly figured out that Captain Watanabe is actually the Wraith and has been posing as the ghost of Jean DeWolf. And the reason she did it is because she was close friends to Jean DeWolf, and it was thanks to costume heroes such as Daredevil and Spider-Man that her killer, the Sin Eater, was caught. So she starts, and Captain Watanabe says that she had to do something drastic to sort of turn the tide against criminals, and then she asks Carly if she's going to turn her in, but Carly says no, but she'll need help covering her tracks a little more. But for now, she should just take a break from being the Wraith. And in our little epilogue, Anti-Venom has a little bit of pride because he saved the day. Mr. Negative has apparently ordered himself to be chained up because he has a split personality between his Martin Lee identity and being Mr. Negative. So he's pretty much chained up in one of his hideouts. And Carly talks to Peter about this, and Peter says that Spider-Man told him that Captain Watanabe was the Wraith. And of course then Carly finally confronts Peter about his relationship to Spider-Man. And Peter just says, I designed his tech, all of his web shooters and everything. And Carly says, okay, that makes sense. So he's given her some of the secret, so Peter still hasn't told her he's Spider-Man. Who knows when he's finally going to confess and tell her that he is everyone's favorite web slinger. Alright, well, Amazing Spider-Man 664 was actually a pretty nice ending to sort of a 2-issue story arc. And I'm guessing right now the next issue is just going to be filler until we get to Amazing Spider-Man 666, which will be the start of Spider Island. Okay? Okay, my final Marvel, Avengers, the Children's Crusade, number 6. Alright, Wanda has remembered who she is, and now because she remembered the loss of her children, she's now getting ready to start the events of... She wanted the Avengers to feel lost because she blames them, and so she's starting to recreate the events of Avengers Disassembled. Of course, when that happens, Hawkeye, Beast, and Jessica Jones all come out of the mansion because they just noticed Wanda in the sky. So when that happens, Tommy, aka Wiccan, is able to convince them that he should probably go and try to talk to Wanda to talk some sense into her. And at that point, Cassie reveals to her father, Scott Lang, who also came back from the dead, that apparently she has superpowers. And of course, Scott's okay with it. Alright, back to the main focus here. Wiccan talks to Wanda and tells her that he and Tommy are apparently the reincarnated souls or some... I don't know what the hell they are, but apparently they're the souls of her kids or whatever. And of course, Wanda realizes that by using her powers, and she's happy that her kids are alive. And though Billy, I'm sorry, okay, I think I got the names confused. Billy is Wiccan, Tommy is Speed. And they both have magic powers and super speed. Sorry, I think I got the names confused back there, but basically Tommy isn't too happy about it. He says that even if she is their mother, she did a bunch of stuff, and that she should and she also did bring down the mutant, almost wipe out the mutant race, and she should pay some price for that. And of course, Wanda feels the same way, that she should do something about to make up for what she did. And Hawkman contacts Iron Man and tells him that, yeah, they have Wanda, she remembers who she is, and also Scott Lang's back. And while they're discussing this, Beast proposes that maybe Wanda could undo what she did, which was the event known as Decimation, when she said no more mutants, and she reduced the population of millions of mutants just down to about 200. So Beast asks Wanda if she could probably reverse the process and restore some mutants' powers. So they call in Jamie Madrox and the X Factor, a team of former mutants. And they do mention that Quicksilver tried to restore the mutants' powers with the Inhumans' Terrigen crystals, but that didn't work out so well. So, anyways, one of the former mutants, Richter, decides to try the procedure on him. So Wanda focuses her energy, casts a spell, and boom! Richter has his powers back. So now Wanda has to restore the powers of about a million mutants. And at that moment, the X-Men show up. And so now, Wanda says she's going to give the X-Men what they want, which is more mutants. Alright. It seems to me like Wanda's return is pretty much affecting almost every single branch of the Marvel Universe. I mean, originally this kind of started out as a Young Avengers story, then it kind of focused on the Avengers, and now it's kind of focusing on the X-Men, which makes sense because Wanda made a lot of appearances in the early issues of the X-Men on Magneto's original team of the Brotherhood of Mutants. And she is Magneto's daughter, even though she wasn't I don't think she was officially an X-Man. She plays more in part to the Avengers history rather than the X-Men, but she's still a mutant, Magneto's daughter, so naturally the X-Men we're going to get involved at some point. Okay, X-Men Avengers Children's Crusade. Yeah, at this point, this series comes out bi-monthly, and there's about 3 issues left. It's been about a year since this story first came out. I would say you should wait for at this point, if you haven't been reading this, just wait for the trade, okay? Just please wait for the collected edition. That will be way better. Although really, if you want to, you can just go track down the issues on eBay. I mean, 2 months in between each issue, that'll give you plenty of time to find them and read them. Alright, now for DC Comics. Before I get into DC, Green Lantern Emerald Warriors number 11 came out. I did not read it. I did not read this because this takes place after the War of Green Lanterns. Yep. This is an aftermath issue to the War of Green Lanterns event going on, and I'm not going to read this until I get the closing part of Green Lantern, War of the Green Lanterns, and the Green Lantern Corps aftermath issue, which both should be coming out in 2 weeks from now. Until then, but once those come out, I will include Green Lantern Emerald Warriors number 11 in my review of those two. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave this alone and just not read it until the end. Basically because I don't want War of the Green Lanterns I don't want this to spoil anything from War of the Green Lanterns. Okay. Now, moving right along to DC. Detective Comics 878. Batman gets attacked by Shamu, and he's held hostage by the criminal known as Tiger Shark. And Batman's pretty much thinks that it's starting to come to the conclusion that Tiger Shark really didn't want any money from Sonia Branch, who he was accused of killing. Well, okay, back up from what the story is. A woman named Evelyn Marr was found in a dead killer whale, and that led Batman along this trail to the criminal known as Tiger Shark, who is accused of the murder, but Batman's starting to think that the motivation was just for fun rather than getting money from a bank, which is run by Sonia Zuko, the daughter of the criminal who killed Dick Grayson's parents. So Batman's able to assess the situation and escape, and then bust out of there. But unfortunately, Tiger Shark has the boat booby-trapped, and once the explosion set off, the yacht starts filling with water, but Batman is able to get out of there. I should point out, though, that this issue really does... Okay, I'll save my assessment for the end, but after Dick gets out of this watery situation, he meets up with James Gordon Jr., Commissioner Gordon's son and Barbara Gordon's brother. So he talks to James, and they sort of catch up for a bit, and James mentions something about how eventually it takes a while for people to grow into who they're going to become, and then Dick thinks that he overlooked something with this case, and then confronts Sonia about this, and that apparently she took the footage of Tiger Shark's men putting the whale in the lobby out. She erased it from the security cameras. That apparently, and earlier she did tell Batman the names of two criminals who could have caused the murder, which were Tiger Shark and another guy who's known as the Roadrunner. And Batman pretty much comes to the conclusion that she erased the footage just so that she could send him to both criminals so that he could take them both out rather than just one, because they both came to Sonia Zuko so that she could launder money to them, but she didn't do it, and then that led to the death of her friend. But she tampered with evidence, which is illegal. So Batman and Sonia Zuko have a little discussion about this, and then Batman calls her Miss Zuko before he leaves, but she points out that she changed her last name to Branch, and Batman says, "Yeah, that's what I said." And so Batman pretty much flies off into the night, while James Gordon has apparently returned to his sociopathic ways. Sorry if this grosses out. Actually, this isn't really that gory, but... Alright. Detective Comics number 878. This concludes the whole Hungry City story arc. I had to say, though, this wasn't really so much about the catching the criminal. It was really more of just like taking a look at Dick's mind and seeing how he works when he's Batman. Because the parts of the story this issue that really had me interested was like Dick's little internal monologue about how he's talking about how he would judge the situation right at the moment he's about to dive into it. That was a brilliant monologue by Scott Snyder. I really liked his run on Detective Comics. If you get the chance, right now, wait till the next issue to jump back onto this, because, well, this is the conclusion of the story. If you want to know how this all happened, go back about 2 issues to, I think, 876, and start from there, and then you can read the entire story. It's really good. Alright, now for the Flashpoint titles. First of all, Flashpoint, Hal Jordan, number 1. That's right, Hal Jordan is not a Green Lantern. And also, here's the Flashpoint pin that you get with this number 1. Yeah, for once I actually got another Flashpoint pin. This is pretty interesting because the pin is actually like a little logo here for Ferris Aircraft. And if you want to, you can tell your friends that's a prop from Green Lantern. Not so sure if that would impress them, but hey, tell them that you own a movie prop. Even though it would be a complete lie. Now then, from what we can get from this early issue, though, it seems like Hal Jordan's life is pretty much as normal as it was from the regular reality. He's a young boy, he wants to fly planes, he wants to be like his dad. Then the accident that killed his father, and Hal eventually getting discharged. And also, but there is one difference, in that Hal eventually came back to the Air Force because, well, he was hired by Ferris to fly again because of the war between Aquaman and the Amazons. And that Ferris Aircraft was pretty much getting ready to help defend Coast City in case the Atlanteans or Amazons decide to attack. So now pretty much Hal, Jordan, and Carol Ferris are patrolling the home coastline and stuff. And also Hector Hammond works for Ferris Aircraft as a designer of the planes, because he keeps mentioning to Hal Jordan not to ruin the planes because he's worked really hard about fixing the designs. And while they're doing this, Hal gets attacked by King Shark. I think that's his name, the villain's name. This guy's name, King Shark. Yeah. King Shark attacks, and Hal's able to shake him off, but King Shark lands on Carol's plane, and then Hal tells Carol to pretty much bail out so that he could take care of this. Carol bails out, and Hal pretty much slams his plane into the plane with King Shark on it, and Hal pretty much jumps out too. And after they land on the ground, Hal pretty much gets on another plane, and while he's up there, he notices a spaceship is crashing down. And once Hal lands, he notices that the spaceship contains Abin Sur. Okay, Abin Sur's not dead. He's still alive. Pretty much, Abin tells Hal that he needs his help to save the universe. Right? Now then, Hal Jordan #1. There's really not that difference so far. I mean, it's just Hal Jordan, and it's not that different from what you'd assume if Hal never got the ring. I mean, he's still a pilot, and flying for Ferris. That's it. But what does this mean for his meeting with Abin Sur, since Abin's not dying and obviously isn't going to pass on the ring? And what does this mean for Hal? He says he needs his help to save the universe, so maybe Hal will help Abin Sur find the entity of life or something. I gotta say, the Hal Jordan series, it's kind of unimpressive. I gotta be honest, it's not really that impressive. I mean, it's what you'd expect. Really, it's really just what you'd expect if Hal didn't have the ring. He's still a pilot, that's all. Alright, now for my second Flashpoint series, Project Superman. And here's the pin for this one, which is like the little S logo. I don't know what this means though, because I haven't seen this symbol appear at all in the comic. Alright, this is something interesting about Project Superman, because the first issue of this, it takes place 30 years prior to the whole Atlantis-Amazon war that's going on in the present Flashpoint timeline. This takes place 30 years ago with this young soldier named Lieutenant Sinclair, and he's meeting with General Lane about undergoing some sort of procedure to become the government's first superhero. And of course, this is a young man who's sort of eager to serve his country and become a superhero. Pretty much, apparently, what they do is they take Sinclair and they bonded him with alien DNA to give him superpowers. And they refer to him, though, as Subject Zero. So they pretty much give alien DNA to Sinclair, and he starts to develop superpowers. And at first he's kind of like getting the ability to develop energy. Then he gets super hearing and X-ray vision, and soon Sinclair pretty much starts to get more powerful each and every day since his procedure. And then 3 years later, when he's sent on his first mission in the field, he just goes crazy, massacres a bunch of people, including some members of his own team, and even their target, who apparently there was just supposed to capture and bring back. So after that, they pretty much have Sinclair locked up. And while that happens, Metropolis is going through a meteor shower, and a rocket lands with a baby inside. I bet you can guess who that baby is. Sorry. And that's where the story ends. Alright, well, honestly, well, this issue, it's the first issue of Project Superman. It's just pure setup, okay? If you have plans to check this out, then I would say keep the first issue. I mean, even though it seems like it has nothing to do with Superman at all, I would say read it just so that if you decide to read the series later, you should pretty much give you an idea about how this is all set up, apparently. I don't really know how to describe how I feel about it, because on one hand, I think it's pretty much interesting to see and apparently it's obviously that the government is going to take baby Kal-El and raise him in their own facility because, well, he's landing him in the middle of Metropolis rather than in a field in Kansas. So, I would say this is just an average issue for me. I mean, nothing too special. I feel like it's nothing special yet, though. This is also written by Scott Snyder. He also wrote the recent story in Batman stories in Detective Comics, and those have been good. Let's hope that this could pretty much be just as awesome, I guess. Alright, and that's my comics for the week. Again, Project Superman #1. I hope this series gets better, and we do find out what happens to Superman in the Flashpoint universe, and here's the pin for it. Flashpoint Hal Jordan. It's pretty much what you'd expect Hal Jordan's life to be. It's almost the assumption that Hal Jordan pretty much would just remain a pilot if he never found the ring. And again, here's your little Ferris aircraft pin. You can pretend, if you want to, you can tell people it's a prop from Green Lantern. Detective Comics 878. I do love what Scott Snyder is doing in this. I liked how he wrote Dick Grayson's internal monologue during this issue. It was very intriguing. I would pick it up if you've ever wondered how the mind of Batman works. Avengers Children's Crusade #6. I really wish this series would stop shipping bi-monthly, because now it's getting really interesting since Wanda has the power to restore, well, former mutants' powers. If I had a nickel for every time I said power in that sentence. Yeah, if you're a Scarlet Witch fan or a fan of, I guess, the Young Avengers, then pick it up. Though it does seem like the Young Avengers part of the story is sort of coming to an end, but might pick up again in case something goes wrong when Wanda's restoring the mutants' powers. Amazing Spider-Man 664. I loved it. It was a nice ending to a 2-issue story, and I hope and it's a nice little holdover for what the holdover until Dan Slott's major story, which is Spider Island. And FF #5. You might be confused if you haven't read the final issues of Fantastic Four with the setup of the 4 cities or the Council of Reeds, but hopefully you can pretty much find those in a collected edition, and if you want to, you can read them and then start reading FF and give you the full taste of what Hickman has in store. And comic of the week, I have to say, is Amazing Spider-Man 664. I love Dan Slott on this title. He's amazing with it, and I've just been really enjoying his work on Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, that is all. Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.